if you are looking for brands or you're willing to work with brands, you want to get clients on your portfolio, you have to look at whatever you're doing as a business, which does not mean that please make the next reel available with the next, trending music and dance to it because that's what's working. No, I'm talking about serious work where you are putting your craft, your art, your vision out there. You focus on the content, you make it strong,
Yeah.
you make it better. And then, of course, brands are going to reach out. Work doesn't come before you've delivered. You deliver, and then work comes, and then you deliver according to that work.
Hello. This is your host, Dyutima, and welcome to My Food Lens podcast, where we talk about everything from food photography, styling to business and mindset. After 15 years as an architect, I switched careers and I'm now a professional food stylist and food photographer based in Singapore. I'm also the founder of the business My Food Lens, where we help clients elevate their brand through drool-worthy photos. My motto is, put your best food forward. Well, here on this podcast, I promise to keep it raw and real and hope you find your answers, action, and inspiration as we move through the episodes. Hi guys, today we are talking to Natasha Minocha. Now, Natasha is a full-time food blogger based in India. And what's interesting is that she used to be a full-time baker. I mean, who wouldn't love a friend like that, right? But more than that, I wanted to bring Natasha in today because I thought Natasha would make a fantastic guest on our podcast because she really ties the bit between photography and blogging. She can tell us how important photography is in blogging or not. And when you are so passionate about food and cooking and recipes, where does photography fit in it? Does it make a difference to the client? Does it get you better business? Does it improve your social media following? Does it make you more confident? Well, she answers all of that for us. So, on to Natasha. Hi, Natasha, and welcome to My Food Lens podcast. It's an absolute pleasure to have you. And that's because I've been seeing your drool-worthy photos on Instagram for years now. But the one thing that really brings me back to you is your photography style. I think it's so grounded, relatable. And today, on social media, where we have overcomplicated every single thing, compositions and lighting techniques, you've actually driven home the point that food photography does not have to be complicated, and that simple can be powerful because your photos clearly convey the deliciousness of your recipes, and I think they bring your personality to the table. So I can't wait to have this conversation with you where we really get into all your powerful details of how you think, how you conceptualize, how does photography help in your blogging, and just really get into all those amazing details. And before we move, if you could just please introduce yourself to our audience.
Hi, Jyotima. So happy to be here and honored and flattered. I keep telling you how much I admire your work, and the invitation to be here on your podcast is, I think, a new high for me. Really, I'm so happy to be here and excited. It's a new format for me. And because you are doing it, it makes it even more special. And thank you for having me, and thank you for making me feel so comfortable. Yes, so now I'm Natasha Minocha. I'm in Gurgaon, so the Delhi NCR area, and I'm a full-time blogger. I go by the name of Tasha's Artisan Foods. That was my bakery business name, actually. That's how we started with the name. It just stuck. And there's a fun story with it. Should I tell you?
Oh, wow. Okay. So yes, you have to start us with a fun story. So is that how you moved from baking to blogging? But you also have to tell us a little bit about your experience as a merchandiser. So I know that you bring a very interesting segue into blogging. Give us an insight of how you finally have reached food blogging. Tell us that fun story.
Okay, should we go back all the way to the merchandising days?
I think just a segue of how one thing led to the other would be fantastic.
Okay, so actually it didn't. It's completely disjointed.
Okay.
So my father was into garments. He was a garment exporter. All my uncles, father's brothers, everybody was into garment exports. So, when India, there was a boom in garment exports in 70s. So that's the time these guys had started their businesses different. So if I'd go to any of my uncles' homes or anywhere, so everybody would only talked about fabrics and fashion, and they dealt a lot with Europe. So I grew up with a lot of European fashion around me at that time. So growing up, we didn't have all these H&Ms and Zara's or anything. And anytime you got anything, you had to travel abroad to buy.
Right,
stuff,
absolutely,
right?
yes.
Now it's not available. So for me to have access to all the trade fashion magazines, right from the time when I was little. So I got interested in that, did economics in my college. And for some reason, by the time I was done, I just knew I have to be in this garment industry.
Wow.
I think it was in my blood.
Right.
Little did I know how much food was in my blood, because at the same time, I have my parents who, both of them, cooked, baked every single day. So while I was thinking fashion's my thing, we would have between mom and dad like a soup week. And every day of the week, they'd do like a different soup, and mom would make these different bread rolls, and dad and mom would have competition about who makes a better cake, even if it's like just a simple sponge cake or something. And from my dad making jalebis for me, or little did I realize how much love for food was getting imbibed in me. I thought it was fashion, and I loved it.
Yeah.
So anyway, I got out of college. I applied for a few jobs here and there, and then I got a great opportunity to work as a merchandiser in a buying agency called Francis Waxier here in Delhi, run by this French gentleman called Francis, who happened to be the owner of Nimrana Fort Palace Hotels.
Oh, wow.
And
yeah,
I had no idea. I hadn't even heard of it. So they had opened the first one. And I remember when I went for the interview, and he said, I cannot put you in garments. You are made for hospitality and all of that. So we struck a deal that for 6 months, I'm going to work with him, with the hotel, and then he's going to put me on in the garment division, because they needed help with bookings and stuff. And with him, I learned about table settings, about flowers, about curating menus, because that was a part of my job. We did parties there, we did weddings, and that was, I think, the first time I realized that you could serve an ice cold kheer with a hot apple pie. And I'd be like, Francis, what is this? And he'd be like, trust me, it's good. So somewhere along the line, that also worked in food subconsciously. But this was, I think, creeping up on me without me realizing. And I was baking in any case.
Right.
I had started baking when I was, I think, 13, 14. My parents gave me full access to the kitchen. So long as I didn't dirty it up, I was allowed to go in. Yeah. So that was the deal.
I'm sure that was your mom.
So long.
There you go.
Yeah. And so I would be baking, and I was in fashion. So it all worked really nicely. Then I got married. I was in Moscow for a bit, US. And there, in US, I was in Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Right.
So there sort of went my dream of this working in the fashion industry, because it's not like I'm in New York and I could work. So I spent a few years just taking care of my daughter, cooking my heart out, because living in Moscow and US helped me, introduce me to a lot more ingredients that we were getting in India.
Right.
And the cooking shows and the cookbooks and Food Network was like, my eyes popped. A 24-hour channel dedicated to food. And so that used to be like my pastime. when my daughter was little, she would be napping and I'd be like, wow, I want to make that. I want to make that. Again, introduction to different cooking techniques, to baking, everything. So I was baking my heart out. I was cooking and I was enjoying that and raising the kids. And then I also did a small course from my community college. And I was an office administrator, which I loved. That was the first time that I started working with Excel and Microsoft Word and everything. All of that was happening. And imagine going to college to learn all of that. So that was a part of the office administration course, which I just thought I'll just do just like that.
Yeah.
And that taught me organizing. And I did not realize how many, now I can say that, these little bits over a period of time teach you so many things. And now I really can say I am organized. I know how to make my lists. I know how to work the Excel. I know how to send an email. I can plan. And all of this, I think, came in very, very handy when I started my bakery business. Because we moved back to India and I was really thinking, what am I going to do? And I would be making stuff for my kids' birthdays with my friends around would love. And, can you make for mine? Can you make for my party? And it just started with that. I did almost a year of doing that for friends. And boom came the bakery business. I think I took a year-long break in between also, between doing the ad hoc sort of work.
Right.
And I took a break because I really wanted to understand, is this what I want to do?
Oh.
And the blogging started 3 years, I think, 4 years after I started my bakery business.
Okay.
Because I had so many recipes running in my head all the time. I said, I must sit down to document things.
Right.
Take a picture or two with my little iPhone 3.
Yeah, there you
some
go.
Vintage phone, yeah, and take some picture and start putting it out there. So that's how the blogging, bakery business. And in between, I realized that people don't just want to eat cupcakes or cakes. They want food. So I started catering. And it took me 5 years and it took me 5 years to understand that running a bakery business and a catering business are two different deals.
Absolutely. Catering is like a whole different ball game.
Yeah. Oh, wow. And that's when all that prior training of working as an office administrator, the prior training of how to plate food, which came from my so-called merchandiser days.
Right.
But, the training with my first boss, Francis, was also so good that I knew it just opened my mind to how can one garnish, and in a simple way. I'm not looking at making roses out of tomatoes and, radishes, nothing like that.
Yeah.
It is a home-cooked meal. It's a home-cooked bake. It's a home baker's blog. So it has to come across like that.
It totally does.
Should.
And it's not just your blogging, like it's not just your recipes. I think the soulfulness that you bring to your food comes from your childhood. I think it comes from your experience from your parents. So clearly it shows in your photography as well. So tell us a little bit about, were you exploring photography when you started your baking business? How was that? And at what time did you decide to move to full-time blogging? And how did you continue to do the photography for that as well? So walk us through that a little bit.
Okay. So when I started my bakery business, it was online. I started from my kitchen. At that time, it wasn't even, I'm talking about 2011. So it wasn't really so much online at that time, but I had these menus on my Excel, or I had a few printed menus which I was handing out to clients to show them what I was making. And then a Facebook page. Everybody had, the minute you opened a small business, you had a Facebook page. Now people have Instagram, but at that time it was Facebook page.
Absolutely.
So what do you put on your Facebook page? People don't have a shop that they can come to. I don't keep things on shelf. I make only on order basis. So those 6 cupcakes or muffins that you want, you'll have to wait for the day for me to make it. Now, but if you want to know what that cupcake looks like, for the life of me, I was like, oh my God, now what do I do? And you can't come in and I can't just say, see, Dhyutima, I have these cupcakes lying here. I figured that now on that Facebook page, I need to start putting pictures of whatever I'm making.
Yeah.
And it was me. I did not have a staff at that time. Apart from my domestic help, I did not have a baking staff or anything. That came a little later. That came in 2013 when I made a separate commercial kitchen and everything. So between 2011 and 2013, I was working out of my kitchen and doing everything on my own. So I started using my lovely little iPhone to take pictures.
Right.
I would, if you see them now, I think we just can't stop laughing because I think like, oh, I've got this great angle and oh, look at this and look at the shine on the chocolate glaze and we only see the shine. You don't see anything else. And so it was fun. And at that time, I thought I was doing a kick-ass job and my clients were happy because they'd be like, "Arey, ha, nice. This bread is looking great. And yes, you can place an order." But I realized that I'm not so pleased with just doing photography like this because if I want to grow, I also had a catering business at that time, which I started. So if I want to take pictures of 5 types of salads, lasagnas, and the, roast chicken and whatever else that I'm offering, I should have decent pictures. Also, I need to take pictures of, I just made 100 cupcakes for a wedding. And how do I tell my clients or prospective clients or people on Facebook or on WhatsApp, not even WhatsApp so much, that time, that I've made it. So I realized the need for photography. So I did get in touch with some very good photographers, school friends of mine who are doing fantastic photography, not food photography.
Yeah.
And I asked them, I said, how do I do this? And then they told me about the prices. And how much it would cost me. And I was like, okay. So for me, I was calculating that, oh my God. So for me to pay 30,000, 50,000 rupees for a full day shoot to a photographer, I have to have at least 15 things ready. And who's baking? I am baking. All in one day. And I said, this is sounding so exhausting. I can't do this. So I figured that time to move to a camera, which I had no clue about, and I'd see the price and I'd shut it and I'd be like, gosh, this is expensive and I don't know where this is going. So, okay, I'll keep using my phone. So I ditched that iPhone and I think I went to, I don't know, OnePlus or something which had just launched and their phone camera was nice. So that was one upgrade that I did, slow upgrade. Because that phone also worked for me for my business. So that was my first upgrade. And a couple of years down the line, I think a year down the line, when my husband surprised me with a Canon 7D, which is what I use to date. And I was only using it with the kit lens. And I had no clue. And I got it and I was so excited. And I'm like, okay, why are my photos dark? Why are my photos light? I had zero clue about the shutter speed, about aperture, about ISO, nothing. One of the times, this is really funny because my brother-in-law, who's an avid photographer, he had come over and I told him, I said, can you please help me with this? How do I start taking pictures? So he tried explaining a little bit. And of course, I didn't understand anything about what is this focal length and what is this aperture nonsense. Just do one setting for me.
Yeah.
So I think it was probably like a July or August that he did some setting. I used that one setting, I think, for 2 or 3 months.
Oh, wow.
And then I remember it was September and I was doing some apple pie shoot for a blog.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh my God, I didn't realize the light had changed.
Oh, wow.
Because it starts getting darker. The sun moves in a different way. And I'm like, okay, it's 3 in the afternoon. this is where I take my pictures. Why is this dark? I have no idea how to change the setting. And I called him. I said, oh, why are my apple pies so dark? I don't know what I've done. I promise I haven't changed any setting. And he's like, okay, press
That's
this
the
button.
problem.
I so now move this. So then I found another fun story. A Canon store in a mall near my house. I went there with my camera on a Sunday morning and I told them, explain to me, what do I do with this?
Oh man. Okay.
I did not know the settings. And I was like, I did not know that high ISO creates the graininess.
Right.
I didn't even know what grainy is in a photograph. So, hello.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know how to explain the graininess. I'm like, it's just also blurred and it looks really yucky. And so they were really sweet. They gave me, one of the guys at the store sat me down for about 15-20 minutes, explained to me how to move these buttons and what this does and what that does. And I'm like, acha. And what if we want to do this? What if I want that blurred background? Then what do I do? And they're like, okay, do you want to do a basic course in figuring out your camera? I'm like, okay. So 2 Sundays, they had a paid course.
Okay.
Just a really simple. So there were like 10 people who went like for, I think, 1 or 2 hours, 2 Sundays. And that's how I learned
how to change settings. How to not make apple pies look like brownies.
I know.
But that's amazing. But that's amazing. I mean, you did not just put your camera on the side and pick up your phone and say, to heck with that. I'm just going to go back to what was working for me. You went to that store and you took that, whatever class that it was that you were trying, you were making little by little effort. That's amazing. That's amazing. So,
because
tell us.
I wanted to. See, plus there's the guilt of spending so much money,
Yeah, no, absolutely.
You have to make it work. I did not know about how to work a tripod. I was working with a kit lens. Okay, so you move from a light phone to this heavy camera. All my pictures were tilted because they were heavy for me. The camera was heavy for me, with the kit lens.
Okay.
I wasn't used to that. So all my pictures were tilted. Where was I editing? I was editing on iPhotos. I have an iMac. I was editing on iPhotos. So the most basic editing, I did not know how to even fix that tilted cake till one day I just said, what's going to happen? It's going to be, is it going to come out and, grab me by the neck? It's not a monster. So I don't know where I went and how I looked it up. And then I learned about straightening the angle. Then I learned about how to hold the camera, the heavy one, properly so that you are first at ease and you have eaten, you're feeling strong and all of that.
Yes.
Never work on empty stomach.
Yes.
That I've learned. Never
Photography 101. Yes.
Never work on empty stomach because, and I get hangry. So, and then I hurry up and then I get nervous and then I muck up if I work on empty stomach. So never work on empty stomach.
Also, I think a lot of people don't realize that actually photography is quite backbreaking and it's very exhausting. You're constantly standing, you are bending and you need energy. Like sometimes for my professional shoots, I literally eat energy balls. I'm eating, every few hours. So definitely not being hungry is definitely photography 101.
That was the start of the photography. And I just started taking pictures of everything that was coming out of my kitchen. I started pausing for 5 minutes. And even if I was taking 1 picture per dish, I was doing it. If I had the time, I was doing it a little bit more slowly. Now, by that time, I think 2015, since I had also started blogging, I was paying a lot of attention to the blogs I used to read. I had moved back from US in 2007. And I think around 2008, I discovered the joy of internet. I was looking at some recipe online because 2007, yes, my container hadn't reached yet. And I was desperate to bake. So my books were in the container, all the cookbooks. I wanted to try something new. I don't know what it was. I just sat and I just typed in chocolate cake recipe. And then I saw some blogs. And I was like, oh my gosh, people are good. And what is this? So blogging was just another whole new world to me. Something that I enjoyed. And blogging those days was also very different. It was more personal. Google wasn't running the show.
Right.
Telling you these many keywords and these many backlinks and all of that was not happening.
Right.
SEO optimizing, nothing like that was happening. You were reading, you were writing, you were putting pictures, I think for the sheer pleasure of it. So every evening when the kids were done with their homework, they were going out to play, I'd sit down with my chai and I would go back to those 5-10 blogs, and whoever they had talked about, I'd go on their blogs. And so soon I made a list of bloggers that resonated with me. I loved their food. I loved their pictures. I loved the stories. And that is what I thought I want to give also, without knowing how to give, because the blog really started more as a documentation for me.
Right.
I was not thinking about anything else, but to be able to relate. I remember how much joy I got. And at some point I was like, if I'm going to do this, and I really wanted. So by the way, I put off my blog for almost 2 years before I started. So one day, I think I'd gone for some pretty much all day long business meeting, and I came back, and my daughter, who was all of 15 at that time, went to WordPress, set up my thing. And then she called her dad and they said, okay, mom needs hosting. And I'm like, what is hosting? What is WordPress? So Jyotima, I think at that point, I was learning about food, about baking, about packaging, about labeling, about accounting, about sourcing, about writing, about photography. I think in a span of 9 years, 2011 to 2020, and 6 months before that, I think has been a time where I think I've just been learning. And I feel it is fantastic because it has taught me so much about running a business. I know at least what not to do.
And how to do. You have excellent.
And how to do.
Microsoft Word.
So between the two kids who were 7 years apart, they'd come back and I would start early. I'd start my day for the baking business. I'd start by around 6:30. So that by the time the kids come back home by 2:30 or so, my baking part is done and it's only the deliveries. Sometimes my driver wouldn't be there, so I'd give my kids their snack and we'd sit in the car and we'd go deliver the boxes around Gurgaon. Wow. I've done all of that. And I started blogging in the night. So if I did not have my lists, if I didn't have my diaries, I swear by my diaries. I love to write. I love to make lists. So if I did not have
there you go. I see it.
I have 2 on my table at all given time.
Oh, wow.
Always. Yeah. One in my hand all the time. So the past experiences, I think, helped more and more and more. And because I did not want to let go of anything, which just meant I have to plan my day better. I still want to go for those holidays. I still want to be able to cook dinner for the family. I still want to be able to meet my friends. I still want to go for that pedicure. And I still want to blog. I didn't want to let go of anything. I think I had that energy or anything, but I think I was also armed with a super, super, super supportive family.
Yeah.
I had amazing, amazing staff. I got very good clients. I got very picky about picking my clients because this is all made to order. So, if people were going to negotiate with me about price of a cake, I'd be like, no, thank you.
Right. And also, so tell us, how many years has it been since you've moved to full-time blogging now?
Oh, I shut down my business January 2020. I was
Okay.
done.
Yeah.
Uh, Again, it was a call that I took because the business had reached a point where I move out of the commercial kitchen that I made at home and get out of the house, hire more people because it's a very competitive business
Right.
now. And then things don't just happen when you hire people, right? You
Yeah.
have to be hands on. And at that time, I think, I don't know what happened. One driving factor was that I just thought I want to spend a little bit more time at ease with
Hmm.
the kids. The younger one has just 1 year left in school now, and at that time it was 3 years left in school.
Right.
So I said, I'm going to be involved. I'm going to be, and all of this, see, 10 years of work was in the house. Even though my commercial kitchen was also in the house, but I was able to spend incredible amount of time with my children at home. I'm a very home person. This meant I'm out for 8 to 10, 12 hours a day, which is not wrong, but I was just not used to it. And also, I don't know if I was ready to make that investment financially and time wise. So it was a
Hmm.
call that I took. Also, it forced me to take a look at my blog more seriously
Right.
because till then it's my bakery business first and then the blog.
Right.
Around 2017, 2018, I started paying more attention to the blog, started learning about SEO. What is SEO? What is writing this alt text? And what is this whole deal about long tail keywords and short tail keywords? I don't know, whatever that
Yes.
is, and how to optimize your writing and what does audience want. So I started reading a lot more about that. By 2020, I think I'd reached a point where I was actually very well thought out. I
Hmm.
took about a couple of months
Yeah.
to think about my business because it gave me stability. It gave me a lot of love. It gave me a lot of recognition. It satisfied me, I think, on all accounts, and I loved it. There was not a day in those 9, 10 years that I woke up thinking, oh my God. It was always like, yeah. Catering had stopped around 2017 and
Hmm.
then was focused solely on bakery business and the blog.
Yeah.
And 2020, I took this call and I said, okay, everything has its expiration. I think I just want to let
Right.
go of it nicely. I can always come back to it. But that then forced me to think about my blog seriously, about how I can monetize it. I read a lot of articles. I was on YouTube a lot. I signed up for a lot of newsletters by about how to make your blogs better, how to make them work for you, how do you make a living off your blogs, all of that.
So,
So I guess the learning just does not stop.
so would it be right to say that, like, are you monetizing your blog at this point? Yes,
Yes.
you are. All right. So actually, that's interesting because, like, I think that food blogging has gone to a whole another level. I mean, the kind of photographs are sometimes better than commercial photographs, and people are doing mind blowing work. So tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about what changed in your photography when you moved to blogging. Did you continue or did you have to switch up? How did you tackle the photography part, making your blog more visually appealing for the audience and for brands?
So there was a distinct difference between when I would take pictures for my bakery business because I didn't need props. I needed to show the bread, the product as it is. So it was
Right.
simpler.
Yeah.
One backdrop, simple table, a nice tray or whatever. So, and I could work with taking pictures from 3, 4 different angles and do a cross section if possible of whatever I was doing. So it was simpler in that sense,
Right.
right? And then I learned about sharpness, about the colors, because I can't just suddenly show the super red strawberries when they're not.
They're not
If the
there.
client's going to get not so red, then it's going to be like, what is this? So I kept that part of the photography more functional,
Mm-hmm.
clear,
Mm-hmm.
sharp. And because I was very much inspired, like I said, about the food bloggers, What was important for me in food blogging was, which I'm incorporating now. I did not do it so much initially, is not just the end product. It is also showing the process.
Right.
So how does the dough look when it's needed?
Yeah.
So trying to figure out that, the cake batter, is it like a soft dropping consistency or is it like a thick batter? When you're doing a brownie, the brownie batter, is it like shiny, glossy, smooth, lumpy? Different. So I figured that in food blogging, the photographs have to be and should be different because I enjoyed it so much. I want to give my audience, my readers, that experience of enjoying reading it and also visually liking it because that's what we eat with the eyes
Right.
first.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? That is what I liked when I pick up cookbooks. We see the recipe and we see a beautiful picture. One picture in most cookbooks, right?
Right.
But that calls your name, basically.
Yeah.
I want to make that shepherd's pie. I want to make this cheddar cheese biscuit. And obviously, as you can see, I love baking. So I cook a lot. But I love baking. Visually, I feel food has to really reach out to you, right? And videos at that time were like completely out of question. I'm still struggling with that, but and so then what happens? That if I've made a strawberry cake, now these are the little things that I picked from various blogs that I used to read, and then came Instagram. And Instagram earlier was really driven by content, if you remember, not so much, like what you are creating. It's not what is being told to you to create, right?
Right.
So inspiration again came from various places. I did not know about the backdrops, but I learned as I would see that, oh, my trays are shiny. As you keep taking pictures, I feel the more you do of something, the more you learn.
Right.
Even if you're making mistakes, you just keep learning. There is no way that you're not going to learn. If you fold your clothes every day, by the 15th day, you're going to be folding your clothes
like
a pro.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay, and because if you're doing it with even this much interest,
yes,
and this much mindfulness,
yes,
you're going to look for ways to make it better and better. And then you're going to start looking at the details. Yeah. So then came the whole thing about backdrops. And I started picking up tiles from my husband's interior design business. So I'd go to his office, I'd pick up some random tiles, and then I started looking for tiles which were more neutral in color. Then I started looking for tiles which were matte finished, or they had those textures. I did not know that you can really go and buy backdrops also. Now I know. I would use my floor. I would use the back of a tray. I would use my wooden trays, napkins, whatever was available. To date, I still do that. I don't think I've gone overboard with my props. I haven't gone overboard with my backdrops. My photography gear is still basic. A friend of mine who was into photography wasn't using his 50 lens. He just gave it to me.
Wow. I need that friend.
Yeah. And I keep asking him every once or twice a year, do you want it? And he's like, I'm not doing any photography.
Don't ask him. Don't ask him. He'll take it back. Don't do that. Ask him if he has more lenses he doesn't use. And then share it with friends.
I know. So I got lucky, and because I did not even know what difference switching from a kit lens to a 50 lens would make. And that was those 2 Canon classes that I went to in the store.
Wow.
Which is what they told me, that for photography, maybe you can switch it. And I'm like, okay, maybe I'll buy it if the budget allows. And then just in the next week, this friend came and he's like, why are you buying? Take. I have these 5 lenses sitting here. Take this one.
Wow.
It's a learning process. And then, okay, so coming back to then for photography for blogging, it has to be, again, like I said, very relatable. If
Right.
I'm making a strawberry cake, I can make it look absolutely stunning, or I can make it look nice and beautiful so that a person who is not an expert in baking can say, I can make it.
Right. Yes.
It doesn't look very complicated. It doesn't look like something that, I have 30 elements to it.
Right.
And I try to choose recipes that are simpler. I will never define food by the time it takes or the kind of recipe. There are recipes where you have to and you must invest 5 hours if you must, right?
Yeah.
Because you have to respect food for what it is. Same with baking. But because I'm not making French pastries or I'm not doing all of that, so I want to be able to show, then I will put like a couple of strawberries around. I will put, if I did put rosemary, I'll put like a sprig or two of rosemary. So for me, it becomes something like a little bit of what is in the cake. Sometimes I would do, how do I want to serve it? And that's why you see flowers and candles a lot, because
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
I enjoy that a lot.
Right.
If I could put like some soft jazz music, I would put that also. So you learn as you grow and you make your own style.
Yeah.
I may absolutely adore how you have photographed your cookies on Instagram 2-3 days ago. As much as I like that, and as much as I'm inspired by that, for some reason I feel I will not be able to take the same picture because you've used the lighting you've used. It's your thought. It is your lens. It is your camera. It is how you've envisioned it. I can maybe just put the cookies out like that and maybe do something, but it's got to be me. So taking inspiration is one thing, but then creating your own style is, I feel, so important in blogging. It's how you write. It's how you are reaching out with your word and visually.
Right.
It has to be you.
Yes.
You write like a dream, Dyutama. You write so beautifully.
Thank you.
I really love reading your captions. Apart from looking at your beautiful pictures, I love the storytelling you convey through your words. But I don't write like that. So why do I want to pretend? Because that's going to stress me out. If that's going to stress me out, I'm not going to enjoy my work.
Yeah.
So I may as well find my voice with a pen and with a camera.
Right.
And give you that story the way I like it. And also the functionality of the blog, the process pictures. So if I wanted to cut cauliflower in a certain way, then it's nice to be able to show, okay, this is how you can cut it, and this is how it looks with this, and this is how the sauce looks. Give it with functionality. So clarity is important. In process pictures, honestly, I don't worry so much about the props or beautifying them so much. I keep it as functional and as straightforward as possible.
Right.
Because do you want to really see when I put the dough out there?
Yeah.
That how beautifully it looks great.
Yeah.
But for me, it's important that you see how the dough looks, not that there is basil and cheese or Nutella around, like put very artistically spread all over.
Right.
For me, that's not important. For me, it is important that you see what is the consistency of this. This is how it should look. We come to the finished product, and then I go to town with the props and how I want to present it, and then the cross sections, and because that's also important. That how can you dress it up simply without really making it very extravagant or anything.
Absolutely.
I'm calling my cakes everyday cakes for a reason, that you can bake it every day and eat it every day.
Right. So it sounds like I can actually hear your transition from baking to blogging from a photography perspective. So it sounds like as a baker, it was more about the finished product and just keeping the food real as the customer would receive it. But when you shifted to blogging, you really started looking at the richness of the ingredients, the textures, and what people should admire and expect when they cook those recipes. It made you look very deep into the food and really the honest details, something that I mentioned before, the honesty that I see in your photos. I think that blogging kind of made you go towards that route. And even though you were looking at backdrops, you were looking at, improving technique, but you were really honing in on the honest details and how you could transport your audience into that particular recipe, how they can make it. And it was really a lot about bringing your personality. It was at this point I felt like you were really pulling, like, who's Natasha? How is she going to talk to these people? How is she going to tell them that, hey, this cake should be on your table? So I feel like your photography kind of took that route as well in blogging. It was a piece of you. If I had to kind of compare it to your baking days, would you say that as a blogger, as you have worked on your photography, you've seen a change or a difference in the way brands approach you or the way you can now feel about approaching clients?
Absolutely. 100%. I think before I realized it, or even without me realizing it, I had brands reaching out to me. And I'd be like, why me? Also, there is the photography part, which I think appeals thanks to Instagram.
Right.
So whether people are coming to the blog or not, but Instagram has been, honestly, a great tool in that sense for brands to be able to see your style, to be able to see what you are doing with different foods, with different products. And in that sense, I think it's also made it a little easier for the clients to say, yes, we like this, we don't like this. So maybe we can work with this person, maybe not with this person, because this one resonates with our brand and how we like it, and this one not really. Right. That has definitely happened, and it's been two-pronged actually for me, because I feel the brands initially when they were reaching out to me were expecting nice pictures, of course.
Yes.
But they were also expecting very nice recipes.
Ooh, okay.
Which has been lovely because I've got to work. I enjoy that recipe development part as well. Mm-hmm. So one of before Instagram and as a newbie blogger, very, very newbie blogger, where I think there were just 5 people reading my blog, but the bakery business had taken off. I still had clients coming for recipe development. Okay. So that part already got honed when I was doing my catering business, because then some clients would say, ki, acha, gluten-free or vegan because, this allergy or that allergy, or could you do this? And I would be able to create a recipe for them. Right. So initially, I feel it was a lot more. The brands reached out. The initial ones were a lot about recipe development as well. When they wanted the recipe, a good photograph was a given. And now I feel that there is that shift. Recipes like, okay, fine. Yeah, we'll go over the recipes with you, give us 5 options and we'll pick this one. Yeah. That's a few, but a lot more emphasis on pictures now. Right. So I'm grateful that seems to be working out also in my favor, because looks like people enjoy the pictures.
Of course.
So, yeah. So there definitely has been a shift. I can see that in how the brands reaching out from literally maybe one brand in a year to a lot more now.
Yeah. Wow. And you've also clearly seen a shift in your social media following and people looking at your work for inspiration. Have you seen your photography evolve and the social media traction evolve? Have you seen that?
Photography, I think the only time I can see that it has evolved is when I see my old blogs or my pictures on my iPhotos library.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's when I see how I've evolved. which is a great feeling. But I just feel that there's just so much more to do and there's so much more to learn. It's nothing about getting complacent. In fact, sometimes I get really annoyed that why am I not doing anything different? Why am I not experimenting a little bit more? Why am I in a rush when I'm taking this picture? So I think it's an ongoing process. I think the more you do, the more you learn, and the more you do with interest, even this much interest,
Right.
you will learn and you will grow. Um, Instagram has been great, and so people do reach out, and uh, it makes me feel really nice because it's not just, I think if I see the appreciation, it's for both. It's for the recipe and it's for the photography.
Right.
So that makes me feel really nice.
It's fulfilling.
Yeah, I just feel so nice about that because, a completely newbie baker is trying out my recipe. And then somebody like Dutama calls me about photography. So it that ways it has been very fulfilling, but I still feel that, now with the videos and everything, there's a long, long way to go.
Yeah,
You're always learning, right?
Yeah, and I think
Always. I think it's an ongoing process. You can't just say, "Oh, I've arrived as a photographer, and bus, now I'm done." And
art is like that, whether it's cooking or photography or singing or music. I think art is like that. Any form of art is a constant journey. And I think you're being a bit hard on yourself by saying that, oh, I'm sometimes complacent or I'm not doing enough. All I've been hearing is in the last 10 years, you have not left any opportunity to learn or to make one day better than the previous day. So you've pretty much constantly been hustling, and you should definitely give yourself credit. And because I asked you a question on social media, I just want to tell you that I actually followed you maybe a few years ago when you were just hitting 10,000 followers. And I still remember that there were so many pish posh bloggers, who were like, "Ooh, Natasha, congratulations." And everybody was posting on their stories like, "Wow, Natasha had 10K." And I was like, "Oh, that must feel really good." And today you are over 45,000 followers. I mean, that just speaks for itself, and people love it. People love the honest, relatable imagery that you create. And for you to say that starter baker came and, they wanted to try your recipes, you're clearly doing a fantastic job. So I think you need to give yourself a little more credit.
Thank you. I do. But then, like I always say, that there's always scope for learning more and doing more. The reason why I say that I don't want to get complacent is because I enjoy it, Jyotima. I enjoy it so much that I want to learn and I want to evolve more.
Yeah.
Whether it's baking, whether it's cooking, whether it's the photography. Moving from iPhoto editing to Lightroom was such a huge deal. That was started 2 years ago. I started taking my pictures in RAW 1.5 years ago.
Oh, wow.
I didn't even know that. Yeah. Now I whenever I get a chance, which is what I have to really, really put out there. And read. Learn. There is so much information now on YouTube. There are such fantastic people who are putting out great content on YouTube, writing books about photography. If this is something that interests people, you have talked about art with, is there anything like too many props or whatever? But it is about using what you have and then making that go. Yes, I have that one wooden spoon. I will use it till it breaks. But unless I find something which is absolutely eye-catching and absolutely gorgeous, I will not buy another wooden spoon. So it's not just about mindlessly buying new lens and a fancier camera and about props and about looking at excess pictures and saying, this is what I want to recreate. It's about making do with what you have.
Right.
And just constantly learning. Look at your podcasts. They are so informative. Take that time out to listen, to learn, to grow, to just get better. The minute we start feeling that I've started my Instagram account, whichever social media platform, thinking that today I have 1,000, my aim is to get 50,000. Yes, 50,000 is great. When you get to 50,000, you want 100,000. When you get to
Yes.
100,000, you want to 200,000. You want a book deal. You want all of that. So that's never ending. The idea is are you really invested in your art? Are you invested in your craft? Because then brands will come to you even if you have 3,000, 2,000 followers if your work is kick-ass.
Right.
Sometimes
Yes.
you will need to reach out to the brands you want to work with. Make a nice little note, use it as a template, very polite. And if nothing else, there's a chance that they will at least come and look at your feed.
Yes.
And then they'll say yes, no, whatever. What's the worst? They're going to say no. And they're going to say no as it is right now. You had no work with them, but now you've at least come on their radar and you're showing them that, look, I can do great work or I am doing great work. So do you want to think about me? It's about building your portfolio if you want to look at it in that sense.
Right.
And blogging is the same.
Would you say that having a good photography portfolio or having a good body of photographs are the first step, or to get your foot in the door while talking to brands about monetizing your blog, just having a good body of photos is a must?
Absolutely. Content is king, no, Jyotima? But that content has to come from how you are as a person. It's not necessary what is trending is your content.
It is the first step. Would you say that?
Absolutely. You go to anybody, you go to an architect to build your house. You want to know which are the houses that he or she has built or designed first, right? It's the same here. It's a business. If you're looking at it in that sense, if you want to make money off it, it's a business.
Yeah.
I think there should be no shame in admitting that.
Absolutely.
It is, and this is also something that I've learned the hard way, because talking about money makes us all a little bit like, no,
yeah,
let's not.
Yeah.
But if you are putting in that effort, if you are looking for brands, or you're willing to work with brands, you want to get clients on your portfolio, you have to look at whatever you're doing as a business, which does not mean that please make the next reel available with the next, trending music and dance to it because that's what's working. No, I'm talking about serious work where you are putting your craft, your art, your vision out there, and you've taken a picture of this phone so beautifully, not because somebody paid you to do it, because you were thinking about it in a certain way, and you've done it and you've posted it. You've written about it on your blog. I wanted to make this cake. I've put it out there on my blog. You focus on the content. You make it strong.
Yeah.
You make it better. And then, of course, brands are going to reach out.
Yeah.
Or you reach out or whatever. So work will come. Work doesn't come before you've delivered. You deliver and then work comes, and then you deliver according to that work.
And so if you do want to work with brands, then you've just got to work on your photography skills. You've got to keep...
Absolutely, 101%. 101%. If you want to be known as a food photographer, you work on that skill.
So one thing that you mentioned was that videos have now taken over and that there is so much that you have to still do. And I think we all do. But if I had to ask you one struggle that you have in photography today, what is your biggest struggle in photography today? What would that be?
So many, Jyotima. Oh my God. So many.
One big
I'm
struggle.
Forever chasing light. Videos is definitely one, if you are adding that in the photography struggle. The other one is I work only in natural light. So I think I still need to learn to optimize that, in my opinion. I'm forever chasing light. I have spots in my house which work beautifully. Different seasons, different lighting, different timings. So I have to work around that all the time. No complaints. But artificial lighting would be something that I would be very interested to learn it just sounds very complicated to me. And I feel mastering light in photography is the biggest thing. Whether it is natural or it is artificial, it can make a picture or it can completely destroy a picture. No amount of props and backdrops or a gorgeously decorated 5 layer meringue topped cake is going to help it if your lighting is not great, if you've not captured light. I think I got this really lovely photography book by Bia. It just stuck in my head where she says, don't photograph the product. I'm
Yeah.
saying it I'm forgetting exactly what she said,
Yeah.
but she says photograph the light.
Right.
Look for the light. Capture the light. You
Yeah.
know. So
Yeah.
I think
So light would be your
light.
number one. I think every photographer would definitely chime in with you, because that is definitely something that we are all chasing forever. So tell us a little bit more about working with clients. When they approach you, do you have like a set number of photos that you deliver per recipe? Or is it everything is pre-decided, or it's a pretty free hand? Like, how do you drive a balance between the photography, the fee, and then your own passion to do more for that recipe?
So the first thing is I try to choose people I work with. With clients, it's a two-way street. So you start with the client really liking your work on your Instagram or your social media or your blog. Your philosophy should match. And with every client, it's different. Not every client, however carefully, they pick you very carefully, and I can pick the client very carefully, but not all clients are the same. Not all clients are ideal, but that's okay. That's how life is, right? And so we need to kind of work around them as to the best of our ability, basically. With all clients, it's different. Here, I think it typically starts with the fees, about with the charges. So that seems to be the first step. That's what I've seen so far. So if they don't like your rates, and if there is any scope for any sort of negotiation, if there is any scope, then that process happens. So otherwise, yeah. So there is this fee. So the client says absolutely not, and then they're out of the
Wow.
picture,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
Yeah. So unless we can negotiate to an extent,
Right.
that's how it has. Honestly, that's how it has been with me. So the emails that I get or the phone calls that I get are only about, okay, there is this. What would be your charges? So that's the first question I'm asked.
Yeah.
So far, always. In a way, it's good because we've gotten over the biggest part of it.
Yeah.
And so once we're past that, then it is really a lot about the client says, okay, we have this tea and we are looking for you to make a reel out of it, or these are the deliverables. So
Right.
they drive the deliverables. And till I think about a few months ago, I was not doing any videos or reels. And so I started doing that only, I think, mid 2021, that I've started taking on projects which involve videos and everything. So the deliverables come from them. And if that suits me, then
Yeah.
we go forward.
Yeah.
And then there is a detailed brief about what they want. Okay, so there is this tea and we'd like you to show, this or that or whatever. And then there is a back and forth about, do you only want to see, for example, just the tea? Do you want me to make something? Because that's my core strength. I love it when the clients say, this is my product, bake something or cook something with it, because then I can showcase it better, because that's my strength.
Right.
Developing recipes is my strength also.
Right.
So I would not typically do, just the product package photography. And I'm not usually asked for that.
Yeah.
I'm usually asked for Instagram, and Instagram, everything is made beautiful.
Yes.
So I will try and talk about the recipe, that, okay, maybe I can use your chocolate or maybe I can use your tea and I can make this out of it. And, this sort of a thing. I have now also started in the past few months making mood boards,
Yeah.
concept notes for
Yeah.
clients. I was
Yeah.
not doing that earlier. I was only going by in everything's here. But now I've started putting everything down on email, not on WhatsApp, but on
Yes.
email.
Yes.
And I think it helps me. It gives me a little bit time to sort of, when I go on, say, Pinterest or something and look at pictures, make a mood board, what appeals to me. But then I also keep in mind the season. I do that a lot. I think all my pictures, I'm still I'm more of an intuitive photographer than, very technical one. So it depends on the season, depends on my mood. So in winters, I usually end up doing a lot more dark and a lot more of those twinkling lights because that's my mood throughout. But in between, I will do, like today, I'm feeling like I got fresh flowers in the house today. And so I will make sure that my mood is feeling light. My photography reflects that. So, um, going then by the season and not so much the mood because I'm shooting for a brand.
Right.
I will try to, if it's depending on the seasonality, then I will create a mood board. I will talk about the concept. It's going to be a flat lay, and is it going to be, a straight up shot, and how many do they?
Yeah.
So a lot of times the client is asking for so-called beauty shots. How many do they need? Some are happy with just one. Some would like 3, 4 for, one for Instagram and others for their use in their publications or on their website.
Yeah.
The deliverables also come from them in that sense, in the terms of number of pictures. So I think last few months has also been just this whole concept writing. Because it forces you to slow down for a minute and think about what you want to do.
Yeah.
Somebody like me, if you gave me a product, my mind just works in what can I make out of it in terms of recipe. So the mood boarding or the concept writing helps me slow down and think a lot more in terms of the layout of the frame. So then I have to sort of think that that plate in the center is empty. I don't know what I've put in there because my first response is, what is the recipe?
Yeah. Yeah.
For me, that's what it is. So I have to stop myself for a minute.
Are you using the mood boards basically to create the visual story? Is that what? Yeah. Okay. All right. And
to create a visual story and to also that concept now I'm also learning. I have to put it on email, send it to the client, write a detailed note on that this is what I'm thinking, that yes, you see, this is what it's going to be sort of like. But I am going to make this change. I will maybe add a picture of my backdrop. I will be using these kind of props. But then I also say that, sometimes what happens is what you're thinking, when you actually do it, it looks not so great.
Yes, yes.
So again, when I start my shoot, especially with a static shoot or with a video, before I start the video, I always tell the client a day in advance, usually the agencies we work with, that I'm going to be starting my shoot at like this time, please be available. I'll click a picture with my phone, send it on WhatsApp, and this is the layout.
Yeah.
So approve, and I go ahead. So now I'm learning to take time because I, touch wood, have not had any incident, any client work where I've had to reshoot. And I want to avoid it at any cost. And I want to make sure that the client is on board with whatever I'm doing so that there are no surprises. Some, by the way, like a surprise. Huh? So some are like, please do whatever you want, whatever, surprise me. And I've gotten really, really lucky with that also. But I still like to inform. I still like to, cover my bases as much as possible because I want to make my time work for me better. I want to be a little bit more productive and efficient. I don't want to waste my client's time or money.
Yeah.
I want to be happy doing what I'm doing. And I want the client to understand that this is my vision now. I'm starting the shoot. I've already laid this out. This is what I've made. we discussed everything beforehand. So if the client says, but no, not this, and that, like, please check the email. You signed off on that.
Yes, yes. Documentation is so important.
It is. And like I said, not on WhatsApp, emails, everything on emails, so that you go back to it and read it carefully. WhatsApp, I feel like messages just sort of get lost a little bit.
It's official. When you're on email, it's official,
Yes. So, yes.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So that's that's what my typical workflow is. So, and then as I'm kind of doing the photography, when I'm almost done, or when I think I'm done, I'll take a minute. I will choose the pictures. If I've taken like 60 pictures, they wanted 3. I'm going to pick out the 3 unedited. I'll send it to them. These are my final unedited ones. Do you want me to make any change? Do you want me to do another angle? Would you like me to do something else? I'm trying to cover all the bases. So I just feel the more thorough you can be, the better it is.
Yeah.
Because somebody is paying you. You wanted to work with that brand. You like that brand. Hopefully you like that brand. Hopefully that brand resonates with you, which is why you took on that assignment, right?
Right.
You don't want to feel shortchanged, nor do you want your client to feel shortchanged. And which is why I feel people will come back to you, or at least you've given them a good experience. People have to remember you by your work ethic.
Absolutely.
What you deliver, yes, of course, but your work ethic too.
Yeah.
I think it is.
Client experience
it's just
is
so
everything.
important.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. They need that experience as well. They need that experience as well, as do we as the service providers. So to speak. I think it's important that whether or not a brand works with you or not, but 2 years down the line, if they see that, we did a campaign with Natasha, it was nice. It was nice. It was pleasant to work with. That's it. That's good. That's how you create goodwill in the market. That's how you create your credibility. That's how these things are important. Work ethic, your soft skills, your professionalism. Even if you are just starting out as a photographer or as a recipe developer, even if you have 100 people following you on Instagram, it doesn't matter. Like I was saying, I could get an order for 6 box of 6 cupcakes, or I could get an order for catering for 100 people. I have to give those 6 cupcakes as much respect as I will give that. So
Absolutely.
that came on very, very early to me, that just because it's a small order, it's literally no money for me. I'm not going to ignore that, because I want those people to love those 6 cupcakes as much as those 100 people to adore the food. So that, both come back to me, or not, but think of me nicely. Think of me as a professional that I came across as a professional, and I did not just do a shoddy job. So that is, I think, important. Very, very, very important for me.
So it sounds like good photography is the first step. It gets your foot in the door, it opens conversations, and it lets brands reach to you. But really delivering a professional and a smooth client experience throughout working with a particular brand is what really turns them into returning clients. Because this is something that it was my podcast release yesterday. So we talked all about client experience, and you're just kind of validating all of that again. So no matter how good we are, like in photography, if we work with clients, we have to deliver a professional service.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And it doesn't matter how, you're a seasoned food photographer. You've been doing it for years. You do photography for restaurants, you do for products, that's your profession. But I'm saying for somebody who's even just starting out, who's maybe not even a great food photographer, right? Because everybody starts somewhere.
Of course.
But if you get an assignment, you have to come across as a professional and you have to come across as somebody who means business. Yes, your photographs may not be the best if you're comparing it to somebody who's top of the line. Agree. But then that's okay. I have that confidence but have that skill to reach out to the client in a way that they feel that this is a wonderful person to work with.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're investing in yourself. They are investing in you, but you're also investing in yourself. So
yes,
I think it's just very, very important. Yeah.
All right. So, Natasha, I have one last question with you. I think we talked all about how your perspective on photography changed as you moved careers, how your love for food actually shows in your photography, how your true, honest love for cooking actually comes through in your photography. So, and also how that translates to working with clients. But I have one last question for you, and that is, there's so many of our audience, so many of our listeners are actually food bloggers and they are also photographers, obviously. So, what is the number one advice you would give to all food bloggers out there?
Create content consistently and create content that resonates with you. Don't follow trends blindly.
Yes.
Seriously, I feel that is, I love so many people I see. They're so talented and what draws me to people is when they stay true to themselves. It doesn't matter what kind of food, it doesn't matter what kind of photography, it doesn't matter if you're reel based, video based, doesn't matter. And in food blogging, of course, you have to go into a little bit more detail because, like I said, you have that sort of responsibility to explain to your audience how you went from, flour and cocoa powder to this cake, for example. So take them through that journey. That is very, very important. Make the blogs again very readable and visually interesting. And visually interesting does not, like I was saying, does not mean 20 stunning photos. Of course, they are great, but that functionality in a food blog really, really matters. But nothing else matters apart from your true voice. So I think somewhere one has to understand that, okay, this may be trending, this may be good, but can I give it my own voice? How can I make this recipe, which is trending, my own? How can I write about it? How can I photograph it? And post regularly.
Oh my God, that's so hard to do. That is so
on
tough.
The blog. On the blog. It is. Like, on the blog. Because if you're going to monetize your blog, if you want to make money off your blog, you have to treat it again like a business. So whether you're writing one blog a week, two a week, 5 a week, stick to it. Be consistent.
Amazing.
And find your voice.
Yes, absolutely, which clearly comes through in your works. And Natasha, thank you so much. This was such a lovely episode. I mean, I was lost just listening to you and your journey all throughout. So it was so lovely. And thank you for kind of telling us that, yes, things don't have to be complicated. Just be true to yourself, do your job well, keep working on yourself, and you'll see results. And you're such a great example of that. So thank you so much for sharing your story. Thank you so much for leaving us with such great tips and for leaving us with so much inspiration to work harder and harder and harder.
Thank you, Jyotima. Thank you so much for having me over. It was really wonderful. I think maybe I may have talked too much, but sorry.
Before you go, can you tell us where we can find you on all your social media platforms and your amazing blog?
The blog is tashasartisanfoods.com. Tasha's Artisan Foods is on Instagram. Tasha's Foods is on Facebook. And Nuts72 is on Twitter. Don't ask me why it's Nuts72. I don't know what I was thinking. It's like one of initial blogs. I'd done some cherry recipes right in the beginning. And I decided to name it Life is a Bowl of Cherries. After 3 years, I realized nobody searches by Life is a Bowl of Cherries. So the blog is lost. So I do Nuts72 is something like that.
Okay,
on Twitter.
well, I like the note on which we are finishing. That's fabulous. Well, thanks so much,
Absolutely.
Natasha.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for making the time.
Thank
Thank you so much
you.
for being here.
I loved it, Jyotima. Thank you for being such a wonderful listener. And thank you for having me on your show. Thank you.
So, guys, that was Natasha, and wasn't she as sweet as I told you she is? She's such a soothing person to just listen to. It's like she's got this soft demeanor, but she's got this punching energy as well. And I think that's exactly how I see her photography. That's exactly how I see her recipes. They have that cozy, warm hug of a grandma, but then they've got that vibrance of an energetic young person. So I think that she's such a wonderful combination of both. And what I particularly like is that she constantly brings our attention to being genuine, true to ourselves. But at the same time, she's like, hello, blogging is a business. It is about making money. And she puts it down right straight that photography is 100% the first step you need to start monetizing, to start working with clients. And not just that, even on social media, your presence, the way you visually present yourself, even as a food blogger, no matter how big, small, great, basic your recipe is, your photographs really speak for you. But you just still have to be honest and genuine about it. So I think there was just so many tidbits and so many nuggets of inspiration, so many warm, cozy moments that she left us with in this conversation. And I hope that you found it useful. I hope that it left you with a little bit more insight on how you can work with a client as a food blogger. What is the process that you can follow? What is the number one thing that you can do? How you can put it out on social media, how you can bring out a true voice in your work, and how you can just keep working on your skills little by little by little without overcomplicating anything, keeping it simple, keeping it powerful, keeping it honest. So if you enjoy that episode, please do rate, review, and subscribe wherever you're listening so that I can bring more awesome guests and more inspiring folks onto this podcast just so you and I can learn together from them. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, please do leave a review. I would be so appreciative. With that, I'll take your leave and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.